All right, here we go. Good evening and welcome to the November 24, 2020 meeting of the Pequannock Township Council. Ms. Marsh.
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy. Information on remote access to the meeting was sent via email to the Suburban Trends, Daily Record, and Record newspapers, posted on the bulletin board, front door, and accessible entrance of the municipal building and on the Township's website.
Thank you, Ms. Marsh. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for individuals serving our nation. I.
I.
Of the
United States of America, and to the republic
for which
it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and the general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, everyone. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Is this Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Phelan?
Here from Vermont.
Mrs. Russell?
Here.
Mayor
Here.
Hurd.
Excellent. Everybody is here. For anyone that hasn't participated in one of our remote meetings, I'm going to ask Mr. Brewer to review the format of the meeting. Mr. Brewer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This meeting is being held obviously via Zoom. Appreciate the public participation that we see. There will be various points in the agenda, just as when the meeting is held live, that public participation is invited, whether it be identified on the agenda as one of those points, or should the mayor and council decide to open it up to the meeting. If you would like to participate at one of the appropriate times, we ask that you raise your hand and wait to be recognized. If you experience an issue with that, you can note in the chat that you're having an issue, and we'll try to resolve whatever issue presents itself to encourage participation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Next on the agenda is presentations. We have a presentation for the Open Space Advisory Committee. Mr. Brewer.
Yes, we do. And with the mayor and council's permission, I will promote the open space chair to a panelist position to help make the presentation. And then Mr. Pinto, if I'm promoting you to the panelist as well, can you let me know? Raise your hand, Frank. Okay. All right, we have Mr. Frank Pinto of Pinto Consulting, who is the open space consultant to the Township of Pequannock, as well as Mr. Joe Wells, the open space chairman.
There we go. Hello, Mr. Pinto.
Hey, how is everyone?
Wonderful.
Good.
Mr.
How are
Wells,
you?
we cannot see you yet.
Yeah, Joe, just so you're aware, you're on mute. Adam, the presentation that we have, are you going to display that, or shall I do that from my computer?
There it is.
Hey, there we go.
Great.
All right,
All right.
excellent. I'm going to cover the first few slides that are mostly about the aerials and the maps, and then I'll turn it over to Joe. Hopefully we can, Joe, we can keep this to no more than 10 minutes. Just to orient everyone as to the property, what you see in green are lands owned by Pequannock Township, basically Woodland Lake and PV Park. Route 23 is to your right, and you'll see some rectangular parcels that are fully wooded along Route 23, which is the subject, that's the subject of tonight's discussion. Next slide, Joe. Adam. Here are the three parcels that the Schottmeyer family own. They are in yellow. There, in between those is a parcel owned by Kew Garden Realty in red. That's the Delta gas station. Schottmeyers used to own that, but no longer do. All of these are lots that front on Route 23. At the very bottom is Alexander Avenue, and you'll see a little triangular shaped lot under the blue lots. That is a small piece owned by the NJDOT. So they I'm sure acquired that in connection with intersection improvements years prior. So next slide, Adam. And these are two maps showing the parcels. And what it also is showing is how the Schottmeyers actually own a portion of the lake. These lots seem to go into the lake. Their back parcel lines are literally wet. They're part of the lake itself. So it was just to show you that fact. Can you go to the next, please? This is a bird's eye view of the properties from the PV Park area, from the beach, looking eastward towards Route 23. And that yellow block is essentially the Schottmeyer pieces that are involved tonight. So I think the next slide will take over to Joe, where we'll talk a little bit more about the past history of trying to acquire this property and where we are today. Joe, are you there? Joe, you may be muted. Maybe I should just keep going, Adam?
Yeah, I'm not seeing, I don't know if there's a technical issue. I'm in share screen mode. It's a little harder for me, but yeah, Frank, if you wouldn't mind just carrying the ball. And,
sure.
Excuse me, Joe can jump in.
So back in my previous role as head of the County Open Space Trust Fund, Pequannock Township applied to the county for a grant back in 2010 to acquire this property. There was a request of $575,000. Pequannock wasn't able to get the deal done, and basically the reasons why will be spelled out. But the issues were that there were wetlands, there was no wetland delineation performed. The appraisers had to assume that the property was not developable. If you look at just the regular wetlands maps, they were encompassing almost the entire property. So the valuations that were concluded by the appraisers were much less than what was anticipated by both the township at the time as well as the property owner. Next slide, Joe. Adam. Sorry, Adam. I keep calling you Joe. So now with the current situation, I've had conversations with Albert Schottmeyer, or I'm sorry, John O'Brien, who's representing the estate of Albert Schottmeyer. They are a willing seller to sell the property out in fee simple. They do have a letter of interpretation from the DEP, so the wetlands are clearly defined. They've also had a sketch plat prepared, and they've indicated that they're willing to accept the fair market value for the property. So next slide, Adam. Here's a summary of the assessed values of the property. Property is zoned C2 commercial, and all of the properties currently are vacant. Total property area is just about 5 acres. One of the lots is not contiguous with the other 2 long rectangular lots. Next, Adam. So what the Open Space Committee is asking in order to move forward is the commission of an appraisal. We really can't do anything in terms of pursuing an acquisition until without doing an appraisal. So that's the ask of the Township Committee this evening by the Open Space Committee. As part of that appraisal process, Morris County, and the reason we keep focusing on Morris County is they are an excellent source of grant funding for property acquisitions for open space. They require that an appraiser have the highest and best use determined by the municipality's engineer and or planner. So it would make sense if we were doing an appraisal that we first do that report by the township's professionals to determine what is really the highest and best use for the property. And then once that appraisal, if you guys approve the request to move forward with an appraisal, would be brought back, and then you can make a decision as to whether or not we wanted to proceed with acquiring the property or not. So that's the decision before you. And I completely understand we're in open session and we can't discuss that matter. And you guys can do that in closed session yourselves. So that's basically a summary. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Really let you know also that this has been the highest priority property of the Open Space Committee for a number of years. And there's a definite concern about the impact the development would have on the assets Pequannock Township already has at Woodland Lake and PV Park. So I thank you for your time.
Right.
Yes.
So Frank, I have a question. Are these buildable lots?
Well,
I was
they
gonna ask
have,
that same question. Will the appraisal tell us if they're buildable lots?
that's exactly correct. That's exactly what that process will tell us. The township engineer or the planner will look at the available data. There is a sketch plat that has already been prepared by the property owner. We can't verify or refute that it's an accurate assumption of the development potential. We really need the town's professionals to do that.
Right. So at this point, you're going to take, if we were to buy that, we're going to take $14,000 off our taxes, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. If somebody were to develop it, we could get much more money for it, correct?
In tax revenue, correct.
Okay. I just want to make that clear.
Yep.
Yeah, I think all along, that's what it's come down to is, are those lots really buildable or not? And that's what we need to determine first.
And I guess if they're not, it's also going to affect the price. And if they are, it's going to affect the price as well.
Exactly.
Correct.
Right.
Right. If they're not buildable, why buy them?
Yeah,
Well,
we'll
let-
be
let-
forfeiting $14,346 a year.
Let me put it this way. My feeling is that the properties are developable. However, the cost of doing the development on these particular properties, I think, is above average. There's floodplain concerns. There's likely going to have to be an elevated building, parking underneath the building. And I think the return on the investment of having to make those substantial improvements is why we haven't seen this property develop to date.
Yep.
So,
Yep. I agree.
Mayor, if you don't mind the interruption, and council and Frank, there's some hands raised from some folks in the audience. I don't know if you want to wait until open session. I don't know if you want to wait until reports from volunteers or if you want to open it up now, but I just want to make sure you're aware of that.
I think we should open up now.
Yeah, we can open it up now. I'm fine with that. Council, are you good with that?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm
Only
good with
questions-
that.
I'm
Only
good.
questions pertaining to this, of course.
Yeah, it's a shame Joe never got on because I know he had some things he wanted to.
His
You know.
hand is raised, so.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
we'll see if
okay,
we can,
good.
we'll see if we can
There you
circle
go.
back and whatever technical issue may have been there will be addressed. So I'll call on people at the order that they raised their hands.
Right, and all I ask is if you could just limit your questions to this specific topic. We will have another area for open questions. You can ask anything you want regarding the township. I see Frank. Is Frank first?
Yeah, I'm here. Frank Spizzeri.
There we go. Hi, Frank. How are you doing?
All right.
State your name and address for the record, just to make sure we don't lose anything.
Okay, Frank Spizzeri, 35 West Franklin Avenue, Pequannock, New Jersey, and part of the Open Space Committee. In regards to the property itself, most of the people that use that property as a walk around for the whole park, walking all the way around Woodland Park, are actually trespassing when they walk on those two properties. So, and I know it's been empty for about 60 years and people have been walking on that property for 60 years. So that's something to consider. Now that guy could put up no trespassing signs and we would be able to use the walk around the park. We even have on Alexander Avenue all marked, a trail marked there. So let's consider that it would be part of our recreational center, that people could use that as a complete walk around the whole lake. Thank you.
Thank
I'd
you, Frank.
agree. I mean, it would be nice if we could do something like a Pequannock, is it Pequannock Lake in Wayne
Mhm.
with a path around that?
Yeah, right. I have pictures of that. If
Yeah,
anybody-
but we're gonna have
Go
we're
ahead.
gonna have the whole rail trail thing too. You gotta remember,
Sure.
that's gonna be a great walking path, so.
Okay.
Right,
Thank you.
but at present, people are using that. They're still trespassing on that property.
Are they trespassing on the property owned by Delta also?
We own a small piece behind the Delta station.
So they're not trespassing on the Delta part?
As far as I know now. And
So we own
even if they were, we can get an easement from them. For
Right,
that.
but what I'm saying is the Delta could just as easily do the same thing and then,
Right. And we can
Right.
get an easement for any of them.
right,
So
we could
if
get
we
it,
feel
we
like
can get
that's
an
an issue-
easement for all three of these lots and the Delta.
Correct. All right. Well, thank you, Frank. Any other questions? I want to make sure we get everybody that raised their hand.
I'm good.
Thank you, sir. Adam?
Next person who had their hand up.
Mr. Joe Wells, welcome. You are on mute, just so you know. There he is. Hi, Joe. How are you?
Good evening, gentlemen and ladies.
Hi, Joe.
Yeah,
What's the question, sir?
Do you want me to respond to some of the previous questions? Would that be?
Sure.
Sure.
All right. In Frank's statement, we are trespassing on the Delta Station property. And we have been doing that for some times. We as a town have put up benches, we promote a ranger walk around the lake. We are very invested in using that property and have been doing so for a long time. And we need to get permission or purchase or right of way of some kind to solidify this in perpetuity. In other words, for the future, the whole idea is to preserve the lake so nobody builds on it. So people sitting in PV Park are not looking at the dumpsters behind some buildings on Route 23, but have a natural surrounding, which we do have. As you saw in the very first slide, the town owns a considerable amount of property on all sides of the lake, except for those 3 lots that we're talking about. It's something we do want to preserve. So it is something that we have to proceed some way to make this piece of property a permanent part of open space in Pequannock.
Joe, I tend to agree with you, but I want to put things in perspective for everybody. In Vermont, I pay $3,100 a year in taxes. In Pequannock, I pay almost $17,000 a year in taxes. The taxes are crazy in New Jersey. I think it's a great idea, but just keep in mind, it affects our taxes.
right.
Well,
That's, my concern too would be losing that, losing $14,000 a year in perpetuity. And then if somebody built on it, we would have even more. I agree that nobody will build on it. I just don't think it's cost prohibitive for somebody. Doesn't mean that somebody's not going to come in. Who thought the castle would ever be there? But
well, to respond to that, Kyle, there's a huge difference here. The castle is equal in acreage to all of Woodland and PV Park. It's over 40 acres. These lots are only 2 acres apiece. They're very narrow. In other words, there's going to be a setback on Route 23, and so that lot is even going to get smaller. Also, in the case of the castle, there's 2 huge lakes there. the percentage of property of space that's used for the castle to the total acreage there is minuscule compared to what you would have or what you would have to do. And in conversations with the seller, he's indicated that himself, that people have looked at the property and saw that it was not something that they wanted to build on. In other words, what some people have said already is it's likely that they wouldn't build on it. But my intention is to get rid of the likely and make this a permanent acquisition for the town. If we do it by right of way, if we do it by purchase or whatever. But I don't ever see us getting any revenue other than the vacant land revenue from that property. Now,
Right.
One thing I want to address about that, all right, we would lose that. There's no question about it. But if we look back at what happened with the Riverwalk and the properties we acquired along the Popton River, all of those properties were very low value, just as these are. These people, for 2 acres, they're paying, a very small amount of money. But as a result of what we did, getting rid of the flood issues and buying those houses, the valuation of property in our town has increased more than what we took away by acquiring those properties along the river. And I believe a similar instance will be here in the long run.
Gotcha.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Any other questions? Any other questions or comments there, Joe?
No, that's basically, I think that the point here is, yes, there's a potential for something to happen, but I've lived in town since 1970, and these properties have been available on the market before then. And if nothing's happened in 60, 70 years, I don't think it's going to happen in the future, because flood regulations don't get less. The restrictions that the owners or possible buyers would have to go through don't become less, they become greater in the future. People are more aware of the environment and what we want to do to protect it. And one of the things that in our town, it's been noted as a flood and so forth, and many of us have been involved in flood mitigation and been involved in floods in the town. And a lot of us have seen video and photographs of water running across Route 23 through those properties into Woodland Lake. And I'd hate to ever see some commercial property with all the potential hazards that has, with water flowing through that commercial property into Woodland Lake and ultimately PV Park. So I look at a lot of issues there that are more than just the trail around the lake, but that's being used more and more these days, especially with COVID and other factors. And I alluded to that before, but I think that's all that I would put out there for now.
Joe, you make a great case for not buying it. I apologize for saying that, but listening to you, you really make a great case for not buying it.
Well, the point is that what's the alternative to that, Rich?
Losing $14,000 of tax.
No, people mentioned the right of way. Would you want? We made a presentation for review of of whether it's buildable or not. In other words, we're making assumptions, as I am. My assumption. We're asking you to let us evaluate that and determine if that is true or not true.
I'm okay with evaluating it.
And the other thing is that if that's not successful, I would definitely want to have the council's input into pursuing right-of-way acquisition if we can't do it the other way.
And Joe, that's the one thing I was going to bring up. I was going to say, if we did nothing, what is the negative, impact there? And it's because I guess you're using the property without proper, easements or authority. So I guess it could be detrimental if we do nothing and you continue to use it.
There's two responses.
I don't know.
One is, to Dave's point, wanting to improve it
Right.
and to create even better trail and maybe bicycle and pedestrian usage and so forth. We can't do that because it's not our property.
Right.
Secondly, the owner is aware that he wants to sell it to us. If at any point that he gets disgruntled or is unhappy with our actions towards his property, he could just put a no trespassing sign on there and we would be done. So
Yeah.
Likelihood, I can't say to either of those things, but that's my response.
Yeah.
But Joe, I just want to just double check. You said in the last 60, 70 years, nothing has changed. So why would something change now?
Well, that's the point. What did I just respond? I said we're in a situation with the owner where he wants to sell it to us. We say no. He knows what we're doing with the property. He might change his opinion. And a lot of things have happened in those 60, 70 years. It was owned by the senior shot miner. They had intentions and they were looking to build gas stations all around on the highways. And they did. The problem was that A, you got too many gas stations already, and B, he's ultimately passed away and the property is between the sons and daughters of the family. And they have yet to decide. There was a long-term will dispute and they weren't deciding what to do. Now they're in a situation and they could put a sign on Route 23 and change things dramatically. So yes, things can change in that regard.
All right. Well, thanks, Joe. We'll definitely talk about it in closed session. I appreciate your input
So
and comments.
what's the approximate cost to do this evaluation?
I'll let Frank respond or Adam.
Typical appraisal is about $2,000 to $3,000 for doing this type of evaluation work, plus your professional's time. I don't know how that might be billed.
Okay. All right, Joe. Thank you very much for that. Adam, do we have anybody else with their hands raised? I want to make sure we get to everybody that had questions on this issue.
We do. I will remove Mr. Wells back to an attendee and promote the next person.
Bye, Joe. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Nice.
Thank you, Joe.
And just for my reference, how many people do we have in line? I want to make sure we get to
There
all
are,
of them.
in addition to the person who just raised his or her hand, there's one more.
Okay. Okay. Robin, hi. Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
There we go. I
Yes.
can hear you, but I
Robin.
can't see you.
Hey,
Okay, well,
Rob.
you got the better half of the deal there, let me tell you. I didn't know I was going to be on TV today, so I didn't put on my my formal attire.
It's okay.
Robin Jones, 4 Leverage Lane, Pompton Plains. I'm currently the secretary for the Open Space Committee. Joe Wells and I have been members since Open Space was developed some 12 or so years ago. Shortly after forming the Open Space Committee, we put together priority properties at council's request. Top of the list, I would venture the guess on the original priorities list was this Schottmeyer property. There's not a lot more I can say that Joe hasn't already eloquently said. But a couple of things. You know, when you remove trees, you now get beautiful views of Route 23 and all the noise that goes along with it. I think it's detrimental to Woodland Lake and to PV Park Lake to remove trees for establishing buildings pretty ugly or otherwise. I think it's, you know, once those trees are gone and once something is developed, it is gone, and I don't know what price you put on that. If you want to draw a somewhat ridiculous parallel, supposing we sold part of Greenview Park where the playground is and put in a couple of houses there, that would be very detrimental to how beautiful that park is. That strips things away that you'll never get back again, ever. And so if I own these properties and I'm paying $14,000 a year, it gets assessed and reality sinks in that I really can't make any money developing this property. Quite frankly, I'd abandon these properties as other people have done along the river over the years, and the township takes over the property. Whether that's an argument for you or an argument for me, I don't know. But quite frankly, I wouldn't continue to pay $14,000 taxes on property I can't do anything with. But at any rate, I hope you'll give this serious consideration. I understand and I appreciate the $14,000 a year. I don't think that's a huge amount when you consider the amount that we collect on an annual basis. I don't think that's going to affect my pocketbook severely. And again, once you remove those trees, it's gone forever, and that's it. And we have to look at Route 23, and I think that screws up both parts significantly. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. That's a great
Thanks,
point.
Robin.
Thank you.
I agree with Robin. Again, let's find out if they are really buildable lots or not.
And I guess the only way we're going to do that is if we discuss that in closed session.
Exactly.
Yep.
This is the one, Mayor and Council, this is the one last person who had his hand raised.
Excellent. Hello, Jay. You are on mute, just so you know.
Thank
There
you.
we go. Beautiful background there, sir.
Yeah. Oh, I got the rotary one on. Jay Wanzik, 26 Poplar Avenue, Pompton Plains. I'm the Historic Commission liaison to open space. I was on open space, I think, 10 years ago when we pursued the initial trying to buy this property. I think one point, just keying off of what Joe said, is the aesthetics. Most people in town believe that we own the whole lake and all the shore. Everything that's green, they feel we own it. We have the path there. We ride the triathlon around there. And as Robin said, once it's gone, it's gone. Personally, I always like to own something because then I know I control it completely. Yes, we could possibly get a right of way and even a green belt around because, you know, obviously the wetlands are close to the shore, or in fact, he owns part of the lake. So we could have, you know, a 25 or 50-foot strip possibly. But that's not the same as what it is now. You can't really hear the traffic when you're sitting in a boat out on Woodland Lake. The other thing is the property, I haven't seen the development plans. I know they exist, the plot plan that the owner has prepared, but that's in terms of what's permitted today. Who knows what could be permitted in the future? Right now, we don't permit tall billboards on pylons, but the state may overrule us on that one day, and you will see a village of 5 big billboards when you come down Route 23 North, and you'll see them all in a row, because the property owner is going to want to recover the cost of his property. There was close and talked at one point that those properties were going to be donated to the town as part of a large deal with the family, and that didn't happen. But I would encourage council just to follow through with these initial stages, and then we can sit down and really analyze what we're looking at. Because I also do appreciate, the balancing the loss of current revenues, but I think in this case, it might prove that the value in acquiring it is higher, but we don't know, so we have to go ahead. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, Jay,
Thanks, Jay.
Jay, just one thing. We have a responsibility to the taxpayers of this town, and that's how we have to look at things.
Oh, no, I appreciate that because, I sat in Adam's office and did budgets, and I know how difficult it is. But that's why I say we have to at least look at it before we make a final decision. But it's worth looking at.
I agree. Well, thank you, Jay. Appreciate your
Thank you,
input on
Jay.
it.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Mr. Brewer, do we have anyone else?
There are no more hands raised at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Well, let's move on. All right. Next is public comments. If there are any reports or comments, I'm sorry, reports or volunteers. I'm not wearing my glasses. That's why. If there are any reports or comments for any of the volunteers serving our community, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Mr. Brewer.
There are no hands raised, Mayor.
Okay. moving on. Now it's public comment time. Public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period for public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized and provide your name and address for the record. Mr. Brewer.
There are no hands raised, Mayor.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. There's still a second comment period at the end, so we're going to move on to the manager's report. Next on the agenda is the manager's report. Mr. Brewer.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I have about 90 minutes prepared to discuss this evening, so I ask that you get your
Adam,
drinks out and get ready.
Real
Can you cut
quick,
it
you
short,
still
Adam,
have
please?
Frank up as a panelist.
That's what I'm doing that right now.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate your time.
So the first item on my report is that there's the desire from the Open Space Committee to prepare and provide a presentation, which has been provided to the Mayor and Council this evening. Second item, solid waste utility rate change, as discussed at introduction at the last council meeting. There is an ordinance scheduled for public hearing in the council's consideration this evening to change the rates for the solid waste utility based upon the new contracts. More on that during the public hearing, should there be any questions from the council or public. We have scheduled for the council's consideration this evening an ordinance to accept West Sunset Road. That's a component of a project that was initiated many years ago where we'd like to move forward, and the road is maintained by the township, the road is plowed by the township, the road is salted by the township. This is a procedural step to formalize the acceptance of that road. We have an ordinance on, this is not in my report, but there's an ordinance on regarding the salary ordinance, and Mr. Oostdijk and I reviewed the matter. Based upon some issues in the crafting of the ordinance, my recommendation to the mayor and council is that be pulled and not acted upon this evening. So I apologize to mayor and council and anybody in the public based on some issues that we uncovered late in the game. Our recommendation is to pull that. We'll correct them and re-present this in January with meetings to act on. For discussion this evening, we have the Township Council meeting format as previously directed when last discussed. And finally, for my report, the Pompton River desnagging project is rocking and rolling. Yeah. Contractor initiated the desnagging work last week, and they are moving like a hot knife through butter. So
that's awesome.
Report to everybody involved that that's going well. It was a little bit of a time coming, but we're very pleased with the work the contractor has done thus far. We'll be down there tomorrow doing some site inspections, and just want everybody to realize that that's happening and being done very effectively. Unless there's any questions, ladies and gentlemen, that is my report.
Thank you, sir.
Is that something that one of us could tag along on to see what's been done?
Anybody at any point is welcome to go down and take a look. Just walk along the Pompton and
which section is it?
Down south of Alexander.
Okay. Any other questions for town manager? Seeing none. I did make a boo-boo that I want to clarify really quick because of the new remote meeting guidelines. I want to make a note that for public comment, I have something to read into that. So for the public comments may be made and designated times during the meeting and may be submitted in writing to be read out loud during the remote meeting. Comments can be read out loud, must be submitted at least 24 hours prior to the meeting by email townshipclerk@peqtwp.org, or you could drop off at the clerk's office, which is Town Hall, 530 New York Pompton Turnpike, Pompton Plains. Must be of a length that can be reasonably read within 3-minute time limit. So no double-spaced 2-page things. But this way, so if the public does want to make any comments or have any questions and doesn't have the ability to be on a video meeting or doesn't want to be on the meeting, they can submit it via writing, email, or dropping it off. So I just want to clarify that for the record.
So let me just ask a question. Was that supposed to be read at the beginning of the meeting or now?
It was supposed to be read at the first section of public comment.
Okay, thanks.
You're
welcome.
May I interject here for a second?
Yes.
That is stated on the meeting notice and on the agenda. So we just need to ask if people have comments for the record.
Okay.
Right. It was great that you explained it, but we don't have to go into it every time. It's there. It's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda. And just to clarify, so if somebody wants to put a written comment, it still has to be put in 24 hours, so the day before we have our meeting, or can they do it in the chat function?
I would prefer that if people have written comments, they do it in advance because we need to review them to make sure they're appropriate.
Got it. There you go. Clarification. Thank you, Ms. Marsh.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving right along. Next on the agenda, public hearing of ordinance number 2020-11. Ms. Marsh.
Ordinance number 2020-11 is an ordinance to amend chapter 124 entitled Solid Waste Utility of the Code of the Township of Pequannock.
Excellent. Are there any comments from the council?
Nope, something that we've talked about.
There you go. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make that motion to open.
Can
the
I get a
public
sec?
hearing.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. If anyone in the audience has questions or comments on this ordinance, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized and identify yourself for the record. Mr. Brewer.
Mr. Mayor, there is one hand raised. I'm not sure it's for this specific issue. So if you wouldn't mind just clarifying that the public hearing is on this issue and then there will be a later comment period for public participation, I'll promote that person to be a panelist if they do.
There you go. I just want to clarify exactly what Mr. Brewer said. We're just taking comments and questions specifically on ordinance number 2020-11, and we're talking about the solid waste utility. So if you have a question pertaining to that, I welcome you to come on in and ask us or make any statement that you'd like.
Looks like he wants to come in.
Promoting the one individual with a hand raised.
Come on down. Mr. Joe Wells, you are on mute, just so you know.
You're muted, Joe.
You're still muted.
Joe, you're
I
muted.
can't hear you, Joe. Mute. There we go.
My question was about the desnagging, so I'll wait till the public comment section.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Adam.
Any other questions?
There are no other hands raised, Mayor.
Okay. Is there a motion to close the public meeting?
I'll make
I'll
that.
make a motion.
Can I get a second? No seconds now?
Good,
I'll
second.
Second it.
I
There you
didn't know
go.
who-
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
Go ahead.
I'll make the motion to adopt ordinance 2020-11 on first reading.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes,
Mr. Phelan,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mayor Hurd.
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda, ordinance for introduction, but we are going to shelf ordinance number 2020-12. So we're going to go to ordinance number 2020-13. Okay, next on the agenda is introduction for ordinance number 2020-13. Ms. Marsh.
Ordinance number 2020-13 is an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of West Sunset Avenue as a public road.
Thank you. Mr. Brewer, any comments?
As noted in my report, this is the next phase in a project that was initiated several years ago, ultimately moving towards completing the project and doing the necessary work to confirm the associated assessment.
Okay, are there any comments from council?
Nope, time to do it.
Is there a motion to introduce this ordinance on the first reading?
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number 2020-13.
I'll
Thank you.
second it.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
yes,
Mr. Phelan,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mayor Hurd.
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda is resolutions. Ms. Marsh.
For the council's consideration this evening, beginning with resolution R 2020-229, authorizing a special emergency under NJSA 40A:4-53 in the amount of $185,000 for anticipated COVID-related revenue losses in the current fund. R 2020-230, authorizing a special emergency under NJSA 40A:4-53 in the amount of $208,565 for anticipated COVID-related revenue losses in the recreation utility. R 2020-231, canceling 2020 current fund budget appropriations. R 2020-232, canceling grant fund balances. 2020-233, accepting maintenance surety bond from Lauren Irwin Zasta at 24 West Sunset Road. And R 2020-234, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the November 19th, 2020 bill list.
Thank you, Ms. Marsh. Are there any comments on the resolutions from council?
Yes, I have a question. Adam, 229, can you explain that one?
229 and 230 are both part of our strategy to preserve our fund balance and have options as we move forward with the COVID dynamic and the loss of revenue. In essence, what the resolution allows is for the raising of that amount of money over 5 years like a deferred charge, so that we don't have to eat that loss in this year's operation and then inhibit our regeneration of fund balance, which we need as a revenue in future years to support operations.
So where did we lose the revenue?
The predominant areas where it's articulated in the application, but the most significant area would be court revenues. Court really has ceased to function with any effectiveness. We've lost revenues in the construction department when things were shut down for a month, and in fees and interest and costs on taxes.
Yeah, Rich, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
And then on the other one, it was.
Yeah, won't we make that up? Won't we make that up in the future?
We will, but based upon the accounting associated with municipal finance, we would have to close out the year and eat that loss in the current year, which would inhibit our regeneration of fund balance. So this preserves our ability to use our fund balance moving forward as we have and raise 1/5 in each of 5 years beginning in 2022.
Got it.
And Adam, I see the calculations come from anticipated versus what's been realized, right? And that's, if you add all those numbers up, that was so it was clear. Okay.
Yeah, the goal, just for the public and anyone's understanding, is just to remain as nimble on our feet as possible, because we don't know what the future will bring us. So this will allow us to have more options and not devour all of that revenue in 1 year to make up that deficit. We have applied for a grant to the state of New Jersey, which is funded through the CARES Act. Arguably, if we get that grant, we could satisfy this special emergency in 1 year if the need presented itself. So there's a plan to satisfy it should we need to, in addition to the ability to raise it over 5 years. So again, it just preserves a number of options for us.
Right.
Thanks.
Any other
Adam,
questions?
for 233, what is the road opening permit? What exactly they're opening the road over on with the surety bond?
There was a project to expand the public utility to hook into the water and sewer systems. And anytime someone opens a municipal street, there is an expectation that a bond be posed or submitted, whether in cash or in bond form. In case the project goes awry, the township has an insurance policy to maintain its infrastructure.
So they're hooking into water or sewer over there?
Water and sewer, yes.
Water and sewer, okay.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt these resolutions?
I'll make a motion
I'll make,
to adopt the resolutions. Oh, I got to put it in front of me. 20, I don't have the numbers in front of me. Oh boy. I'm going to, here we go. Adopt resolutions 2020-229 through 2020-234.
Excellent. Can I
I'll
get a second?
second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Florence Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Phelan,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mayor Hurd.
Yes. Next on the agenda is items for discussion. It's meeting format. So when are we going back to in-person meetings, everyone? Your thoughts?
I think-
Council,
Go ahead.
sorry, I just want to bring everybody up to speed. Based upon the prior conversations and an initiative by the Administrative Office of the Courts, we purchased a number of dividers to set the room up so that the dividers could be in place should the opportunity present itself to have in-person meetings. I know this took place about a month ago, and I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed. They should be in sometime in December. Obviously, this is a dynamic situation we're all dealing with, and a month ago, I think things were a little bit different than they are today. But just for the council's awareness, we are working to try to create a room that provides the option, should the decision be made, to go back to council meetings in person. That said, things are changing, and as we discussed previously, this item is scheduled for discussion as we have 2 more meetings in 2020 and then reorg on January 5th.
I don't think we can do anything until we see how these dividers work, to see what they look like. Things are, the positive cases are going up again. So I would say, let's stay for now. I think we should have our reorg meeting in person if we can.
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen there?
But council meetings right now, I'd say stay with the Zoom.
I agree. 3 months ago, we felt differently, might have felt a little differently. And 2 months ago, feeling a little bit more optimistic to be able to open it up. But I don't think we can right now.
Oh, we don't even have the plexiglass yet. Everything's on back order. So
yeah,
that's the biggest problem right now, I think.
So probably for at least the remainder of this year, we're going to have to do it this way and then revisit it, see what happens.
Right. I think it would be great if we had in-person council meetings again. I don't think it's realistic at this present moment, but I look forward to that day that we can have them in person again.
Yeah.
Kyle?
I agree with what everybody's saying. I mean, I was definitely wanted to get back, but I think with cases rising, I think it would be prudent just to hold off for now.
Yeah. All right.
Understanding council's direction, then we'll notice the balance of 2020's meetings to be via Zoom. We have already noticed, or rather the clerk's office, sorry, Ms. Marsh, has already noticed the organization meeting for January 5th at 6 p.m. At the Legacy Castle, which has the large room that would allow for the attendance. So, once we get closer to the end of the year, we can revisit the discussion and see where we are.
And that's going to depend heavily on Governor Murphy's executive orders. So depending on what happens between now and then, keep your fingers crossed that we can start coming out of this and we can have reorg in person.
Just a slight technical correction. I have not yet sent out the notice for the reorg.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not the legal notice. It's ready. I just didn't hit send yet.
My apologies.
No problem.
Everybody got a little sneak peek of what's coming. So there you go. All right, moving right along. There are no reports and notices. So now it's next on the agenda is council reports and announcements. Councilwoman Florence Lynch.
Yes, I don't have too much. Just wanted to make a comment. The flood committee this month, they canceled their November meeting. As you might know, it was due to a death in the Hardacre family. So Ken's sister Lynn passed away, and the wake was that night. So they had to, cancel the meeting. So our thoughts and prayers go out to their family. Their meeting will resume in December. The next flood committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, December 10th. As Adam already noted, I'm really glad about the river desnagging project. So I'm probably going to go take a walk and see how it's looking. And I'll make sure the flood committee members, if they want to do that too, they can go check it out. The Economic Development Advisory Committee, they're supposed to meet December 23rd. I assume that meeting is going to be canceled, but I have not gotten an official word. So I'll follow up with the chair to see if they plan on holding a meeting for the remainder of this year or hold off. Other than that, I don't have anything. Just happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Okay, Councilman Cole.
I have a few things. Deputy Mayor Russell and I attended the Veterans Day ceremony on November 11th. That was a very nice ceremony that they put on, socially distanced, but it was definitely worthwhile, for the veterans. And it was a good showing of the veterans of the community. DPW is still doing a great job with the leaves. I got a question about recycling lids. No lids allowed. Like I have a cream cheese container that has a pretty decent sized lid that has the number 2 on it. I know we can't put the lid on the container, but can the lid go in the recycling?
What happens is all this material goes on this highly mechanized conveyor belt, which has magnets and puffs of air and all kinds of things. So the reason they say no lids is because it always falls through the screens and the cracks and ends up going into the waste. Just the difference is it gets transported to the material recycling facility or MRF, as opposed to you just throwing it in the trash, but it ends up in the same place. So that's why the recommendation is to throw lids in the garbage.
Okay, so even the big spring mix containers of lettuce, the lid that's like, no lid.
You are always welcome to give it a shot. But the recommendation from the hauler is to throw them in the garbage. If you want to give it a shot and put it in the pail, you can, and if it makes it through, great. Otherwise, it ends up in the
Cole is not happy throwing those things in the garbage, but I'll continue to reinforce throw them in the garbage.
And I think the hardest, Dave, I was going to say, I think the hardest thing is the caps. They're even saying you're supposed to take the caps off water bottles and stuff and throw them in the garbage, which most people put it back on. Yeah,
but it's challenging because
So people are going to throw more garbage into the garbage than recycle at this point.
Yeah.
Really. People get
challenges. Sorry, Councilwoman.
Even the environmental group, because I reached out to them thinking, they got to have an answer, and they said no, garbage, and as much as it pains them, they always say, when in doubt, throw it out.
Really?
And the challenge, as everyone may be aware, is a number of years ago, the recommendation was to squish the water bottles and keep the caps on. That direction has now changed. So based upon the markets that are changing, the direction the residents are changing. At one point, you were supposed to put shredded paper in a plastic bag. Now that can't happen anymore. So with the evolution of recycling, it does definitely create confusion, and you can understand the challenge.
All right, just a couple other things for me. The first aid squad meeting that was supposed to be held on November 9th, that was canceled due to the increase of COVID. I'd like to congratulate the PTH band state champions this year again. I'd like to also congratulate all fall sports, especially field hockey, who are the NJAC champs 2 years in a row, boys soccer, NJAC champs and sectional champs. The field hockey team, they're sectional champs as well. Girls soccer made it to the quarterfinals, so they had their first state win in the sectionals in 5 years. So, kudos to all of the band people at the high school, to the soccer players, the field hockey players. Keep up the good work. Keep making Pequannock proud. I think that's all I got. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving. Wow, the high school is rocking it. That is amazing. Very cool. Councilman Phelan, you're up.
So I don't have anything to really say other than happy Thanksgiving from Vermont.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Rich.
All right. Deputy Mayor. Mayor Russell.
Library is, hold on, I don't even know why that's on. Okay, so, oh my gosh. So the library is going well. The Friends did a scarecrow stroll, which was received very well. It was great. The Friends of the Library also donated a new book drop. So now there is the book drop, which you can leave your media also. So they're very excited about that. The Environmental Committee is back to collecting plastic bags. There is a drop at the library, so you can drop them there. If you have a ton of plastic bags and you want to, because what we do is we collect them, the Environmental Club, Andy actually, collects them and come over to Stop and Shop, and then we record how much he dropped off. So if you have a ton of bags, save Andy a trip and just drop it off at Stop and Shop and reach out to me or anybody on the Environmental Club, and we can record how much you leave. Also, congrats to all the sports. I think the boys soccer they didn't get to play their state champs. Somebody on a team they played the week before tested positive for COVID, so they weren't allowed to play their final game. But we know they're champs. They did great. Same with the field hockey and the band, and it's just, and they're going through such a hard time. And yet they still get out there and play, and it's not easy. It's, for these kids, and I'm really proud of all of them and their coaches. who, you know, took the time to go out there through all crazy rules and just make it work and give the kids something to do. Again, like Dave said, the veteran ceremony, it was kind of like a light rain. We were kind of worried that the sky was gonna open up, but there was a lot of people there. So that was really great to see, because we definitely never want to forget our veterans. And that's it. I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And for those of you who have signed up for the tree lighting ceremony, it is Sunday. You do need to sign up on Community Pass, although Melissa, you said it was full. So
Yep.
maybe they can watch from across the street.
Live stream.
What do you think?
They're live streaming it.
Yeah, they are live streaming it.
Okay. And that's it. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just really quickly, open space meeting. We had the open space meeting and we were talking about the Schottmeyer property, which they presented today. Again, to reiterate, very proud of the high school and all the kids. I mean, it is an interesting year. It's amazing to me how they were able to work through it and still take care of things from an athletic standpoint. So I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of the coaches, because yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy in a normal year, but now they've done it. I'm also proud of the entire staff at the high school and all of our schools, because you know, they're some of our unsung heroes, going through all this and keeping the kids focused on a normal day, and yet now doing it through the digital day of the wonderful world of Zoom. I know that it's hard, and I really do appreciate everything that all of our teachers in Pequannock are doing. So kudos out to everybody. Let's see, again, tree lighting. Unfortunately, seems like it's sold out. So make sure you watch it live stream, because we do have that. We'll be using the new tree, right, Mr. Cole? Excellent. And that's all I have. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thanks,
Moving
Ryan.
right
You
along.
too.
Ryan.
All right. Public comment. Next on the agenda is public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized, and provide your name and address for the record. Mr. Brewer.
We have a couple of hands raised, Mr. Mayor.
All righty. Come on
In the order
down.
that they were raised.
Mr. Wells, how are you? You are on mute, just so you know. You're still on mute.
Well, I take it off.
There we go.
Have I come back, it goes on again. Anyway, my very brief 2 questions to Adam about the desnagging. A, what point north to south in the river is the desnagging taking place, or what section of the river? And secondly, I noted at Pequannock and Shady that the contractor has pulled a lot of logs out. They're piled up on an open space lot right at that point. Are they going to clear the lots as part of the contract, or is that going to be left for DPW, or what's the answer to that? And those are my 2 questions. I'll listen for your answer.
Thanks, Joe.
The project is basically the vicinity of Alexander South, along the riverbank that is on the Township of Pequannock side of the river. And the material that's being stockpiled is during the project. It will all be removed by the contractor as a component of the contract.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Who do we have next, Mr. Burr?
Bear with me while I move some folks around. Next up.
Mr. Frank, how are you? You are on mute.
Right. Frank
There we
Spazzeri, 35 West Franklin Avenue. I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving
Happy
and
Thanksgiving, Frank.
possibly see you at the tree.
Oh, absolutely.
Frank, happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay.
Have a
Take care,
great
everybody.
Thanksgiving. Bye.
Mayor, I do not see any other hands raised at this time.
All righty. Well, thank you very much. Moving right along. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes for October 27th, 2020, November 10th, 2020. Are there any comments on these minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve these minutes? Anyone?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from October 7th and November 10th.
I'll second it.
Excellent. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? There you go. Okay, next on the agenda is closed session discussion. Mr. Uzdike, will you please explain the procedure for holding the closed session?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. This is the time of our meeting where when we meet live, we ask folks to leave the meeting so that the council can discuss matters of confidentiality. Because we're on Zoom, not having live meetings, we will ask the public to absent themselves from the Zoom meeting. We do not take action once we complete our executive session, so we will not come back into open session to take any action on any of the matters discussed tonight. If there is any action to be taken on the two matters we're discussing tonight, that will be taken at a future meeting. And that should be it, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion to approve resolution R 2020-235, authorizing the town council to meet in executive session to discuss property acquisition and personnel?
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No action will be taken following the closed session. At this time, the public portion of the meeting is recessed for the closed session. Thank you, everyone. And if I don't see you again, happy Thanksgiving. All right, we are back in public session. Mr. Uzdike.
Thank you, Mayor. In executive session tonight, the council discussed two issues. One was an issue of property acquisition as a continuation of the matter discussed in open session, and direction was given to the township manager regarding the next step in that regard. Second item discussed was a personnel issue, and the township manager was given direction about about proceeding with the contract with the chief of police. And those were the two items tonight.
Thank you, sir. There being no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Well, before we go, that our next meeting is December 1st at 6 o'clock.
It's December 2nd, I believe, and Rich has to hook up Zoom meeting from my company.
First Tuesday of
I
December.
thought it was the
That's next
third.
Tuesday.
The third, I'm sorry, the third.
Third
One
at
of those
6
days.
o'clock.
December 3rd at 6 p.m.
I have the 3rd at 6.
I do too. December 3rd at 6.
Okay.
Okay,
We-
just make sure everybody's on the same. Okay.
Right, we have to use my Zoom account, so Carol and I will figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
All right. If there's no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Can I get a
I'll
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Thanksgiving.
Thanks, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
I'll text you on Thursday from the boat.
Have fun. Enjoy.